floods in UAE. Now, immediately, all the major media outlets, if you would have read the newspaper articles, all of them talked about that there has been the cloud seeding and artificial rain which is behind the incessant flooding which has been observed in the Emirates. But slowly and steadily, pictures started becoming much more clearer. And now we know for good that cloud seeding in itself was not responsible. Something else has caused this huge amount of rainfall. But regardless of whatever might have been the reason, the flood and the deluge which has been created has been quite significant. Large areas have been inundated and significant amount of casualties have been reported in the region of the Emirates, Oman, and so on. So here, what has actually happened? So in the duration of 24 hours, the region, or UAE, if you consider only UAE, that has received close to around 15.2 centimeter of rainfall. Now, in case you are unable to fathom how much 15.2 centimeter of rainfall will be, just to give you an idea, this is the average amount of rainfall that the region of UAE would receive ideally in a couple of years. So almost that much amount of rainfall has occurred only within one day. So that has led to inundation in the street and deluge at an unprecedented proportion. But then immediately the blame was put on artificial rain. The principle involved is that in the atmosphere, higher reaches of troposphere where you actually have the cloud formation which can lead to rain, spray silver iodide, so it kicks in a kind of a chain reaction of very low temperature and carrying out condensation. So whatever vapor is present in that area, by spraying these particles, you tend to accelerate the condensation of all the vapor particles which are present there. And eventually the cloud becomes heavy enough and that induces rainfall. It is basically carried out by certain measures. Some of the sounding rockets which are launched, and those rockets detonate at a height of 3 to 4 to 5 kilometers, and they spread and spray that silver iodide. And in most of the cases, what is followed is specifically modified airplanes. They carry out the silver iodide particles and they spray the silver iodide particles. So that will accelerate the cloud formation and then it causes rainfall. After this deluge has occurred in Dubai and in UAE and in the surrounding areas, immediately the finger was laid to the fact that might be responsible for this unexpected amount of rainfall which has occurred in that area. The reason turns out to be something different. Why that rainfall has occurred at such a large level? Why so much amount of rainfall has occurred in a concentrated area? So it is a combination of various factors. One of the factors is the influence of temperature, another is pressure, another is the climate change, and also another factor which has exaggerated the amount of damage caused is basically poor drainage. Something that almost all the urban areas across the world, they suffer from it. That poor drainage system, that water is not being evacuated at the same quick pace. So let us understand this, why this has happened. Now, due to heating and climate change has further exaggerated it. Now, that very high temperature has created a very substantial low pressure. Other than that, in the upper atmosphere as well, in the upper reaches of troposphere as well, there has been a simultaneous creation of a low pressure. So what this has done, it has created like a vacuum pump, a squeeze as it is being referred to, a squeeze was created. So due to that squeeze, all the air in this region rapidly, almost violently was pulled up. Now ideally, this in itself can cause significant amount of thunderstorms. To exaggerate and add on to this abnormality was the fact that around this region you have the presence of water body, right? The Persian Gulf is present there. So you have the sea. So here, even this air was attracted and was pulled up. Now this was not a normal pulling up action. The air normally over the region of UAE would be very dry, desertified area. Now in dry air, we experience the fact that as you move higher in terms of altitude, every kilometer of increase in height, the temperature can drop by around 10 degrees Celsius. So at higher elevation, you had very low temperature. So not only was there a pressure difference created horizontally, there was a pressure difference created vertically as well. And because of that, that suction, that squeeze acted. And the presence of water body nearby added the moisture to the rising air. And because you had very low temperature higher up, due to that, violent and vicious thunderstorms, clouds were created, and that has added to the rainfall. Climate change has created a situation where even the Arabian Sea is experiencing very high conditions of temperature. That is why increased occurrence of tropical cyclones in the Arabian Sea for the past few years, and the recurving of the tropical cyclones hitting the region of Oman, UAE, and so on. So the water is also getting hotter. So all these issues, they get exaggerated, added onto it, and poor urban planning in terms of the drainage systems, which is prevalent in all the cities of the world, they simply could not evacuate that excess rainfall, and hence you had this deluge.
To stay up to speed with the latest news, subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Thank you very much for joining us.